What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so the corporate press, they just got their new marching orders, right? The Democratic Party just printed out the bullet points and shipped it out, faxed it, if you will, to every single corporate press outlet. These are the new talking points. This is the new angle we're going to go in on. This is the argument, y'all. Check this out. Musk and Doge try to slash government by cutting out those who answer to voters. Oh, yeah. They're going in on this angle now that, oh, well, we got a bunch of unelected people that can't get elected again. Never going to be held responsible by voters ever again. Let's get into it, y'all. For decades, conservatives in Congress have talked about the need to cut government deeply, but they have always pulled back from mandating specific reductions, fearful of voter backlash. Now, President Donald Trump's administration is trying to make major cuts in government through the so-called Department of Government Efficiency. What do you mean, the so-called Department of Government Efficiency? Like, it's just funny. Like, I love these talking points, by the way. Or Doge, run by billionaire Elon Musk, an initiative led by an unelected businessman who's unlikely to ever run for office and was appointed by a termed-out president who no longer needs to face voters again. So this is the new talking point, that because Trump can't get elected again. But hang on just a second. You guys just a couple of weeks ago were fear-mongering. Oh, Donald Trump keeps joking about a third term. That's unconstitutional. Come on now. The dynamic of cutting government while also cutting out those who answer to voters has alarmed even some fiscal conservatives who have long pushed for Congress to reduce spending through the means laid out in the Constitution, a system of checks and balances that includes lawmakers elected across the country working with the president. Now, what I love about this is They just debunked their own talking point here, right? So conservatives have long said we need to cut government through the normal means, but it never gets done, does it? So, right, like we all know the colloquial definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result, right? Right, so that's what they propose, is to just continue, oh, let's not do this drastic measure over here. Let's just continue to try to do this the same way we've been trying to do it for the past 30 years, and we'll see if it works this time. Right, that's the same argument they use about with communism, right? Oh, we will make sure and get communism right. They didn't do it right. No, they screwed up, but we're better. We know more. Because we learned from their mistakes. Right. Some members of the Trump administration got frustrated that Congress won't cut spending and decided to go around them, said Jessica Riedel of the conservative think tank, the Manhattan Institute. Now, she said, no one who has to face voters again is determining spending levels. That is right. These people are cowards in Congress. They are so scared of cutting spending that they just never do it. And this is why I always say we need new congressmen. And it's not because they're scared of not getting elected again. It's because the lobby interest in Congress tells them no. That's why. That may be changing. On Thursday, facing mounting court challenges to the legality of Musk ordering layoffs, Trump told his cabinet that Musk could only make recommendations about government reductions. This has always been the case. Don't know what they're talking about. And there were more signs that Congress, after sitting on the sidelines for nearly the first 2 months of Trump's administration, is slowly getting back into the game. On Wednesday, Republican senators told Musk that he needed to ask Congress to approve specific cuts, which they can do on an up or down filibuster-free vote through a process known as rescission. Senators said Musk had never heard of the process before. Don't know if I believe that. That was a striking admission, given that it's the only way for the executive branch to legally refuse to spend money that Congress has given it. To make it real, to make it go beyond the moment of the day, it needs to come back in the form of a rescission package, said Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, a longtime advocate of spending reductions, who said he introduced the idea of rescission to Musk during the lunch meeting of the GOP caucus. Of course, letting Congress have the final word may be constitutional, but it would open up the process to individual representatives or senators balking at cuts because of home state interests or other concerns, as some have already. But Douglas Holtz Eakin, a former director of the Congressional Budget Office and an economist in George W. Bush's administration, said that messy process is a superior one. There's always this instinct in people to insulate decisions from politics, Holtz Eakin said. It's a mistake in a democracy. It's really messy. You're not going to get the cleanliness of a corporate reorganization. Riedel noted she has advocated for deep cuts for decades, but there's a reason Congress has balked. If Congress won't pass certain spending cuts, it's because the American people don't want it enough, she said. If I want spending levels to be cut, it's my job to persuade the people of America to agree with me. That is not true. That is totally false. That is completely false. We represent these people to go to Congress and represent our interests, right? Nobody in America thinks, 100% of Americans would all agree that we should balance our budget if you ask them in the correct way. Do you think we should spend more money than what we take in revenue? And most people would probably say, can we do that? Yeah, most people don't know about deficit spending. If you tell these people, look, we can't spend more money than we have to. That's why they get elected, is to handle the government so we don't have to. You make the decisions for us. You propose what you're going to do when you get to Congress, and if we agree, you get elected. And then you go to Congress, and you do the job you said you were going to do. It's not incumbent upon us to agree with everything that you say. Right? That's such a cop-out. And this is why they never get anything done. Because, once again, these congressmen, they get into Congress and then they get slapped in the face with the reality of the lobby interest in Congress. And all these people telling them, no, we got to spend money on this. We got to spend money on this. We can't do this. We can't do that. You got to give us this funding. And they're like, what's going on here? And they just go with the flow. Because why? Why do you think that is? Why do they just go with the flow? The path of least resistance. That is nature. Nature takes the path of least resistance. And that's what these people do, right? It takes somebody like Donald Trump, who's not having to think about getting reelected, to come in and actually get the job done. This is why a lot of people propose term limits for congressmen. And if we can't get, the lobby interest out, sure, one term, and that's it. So they don't ever have to worry about getting elected ever again. If you want to keep the lobby industrial complex going in Washington, D.C., if you don't want to get rid of that because of all the money generated by the corporate lobby in this country, single terms. That's it. That is it. And then make it to where serving in Congress will be like jury duty, as a matter of fact. That would be better than the current system, right? It would be better to have Joe Blow from down the street go in and say, yeah, we can't vote on that. That's ridiculous. We can't spend $1.8 trillion more than we take in revenue. That makes absolutely no sense, does it? No, it doesn't. So, something has to happen here. Something drastic has to take place. Congress just needs to agree these spending cuts need to take place. Once again, Donald Trump isn't cutting the government by a lot, by the way. He hasn't even cut anything yet, really. All this spending has been put on pause. That's it. It's been paused. He hasn't cut anything because he can't. but he can most definitely put a pause on it. That's what he's doing until he can get approval from Congress to cut some of this stuff. And good luck with that, y'all. Trump and his supporters argue they did just that in the last presidential election when he promised to shake up Washington. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it, Trump said during his address to Congress last week. And I've said this before 1,000 times. Probably not 1,000 times, to be honest with you, but I've said this before. Like, they keep calling Elon Musk an unelected bureaucrat, and everything that Donald Trump is doing is illegal, and nobody asked for this. Nobody voted for Elon Musk. That is all lies. That was one of his major campaign promises. He said it in campaign rally after campaign rally after campaign rally. He's going to bring in Elon Musk, and he's going to bring in Doge, and they're going to clean up the government, and they're going to drain the swamp. He's going to do this. He's going to secure our border. He's going to stop this war over here. He's going to make America great again. And now he's trying to do it, and now they're trying to tell you that nobody asked for any of this. Yeah, Democrats didn't, but the plurality of voters in this country did. A corporate-style approach to government has long been the goal of conservatives, especially one segment that has recently called for a more CEO-style leader who is less tied down by Democratic commitments to voters. Musk has embodied that, bringing the same disruptive cost-cutting zeal he brought to his private companies. Some of his Doge moves mirrored steps he took to slash the social media site Twitter, including the email offering buyouts, both times called Fork in the Road. Yes, that is a great idea in my opinion. So we've come to a fork in the road in this country. Once again, like with the Biden administration, that was put on display, at least to me, that we've got a major problem, y'all. $1.8 trillion. And if it wouldn't be for the Supreme Court, that figure would have been $2.2 trillion. Or if they wouldn't have stopped Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness, $2.2 trillion. That is more than the GDP of France. In a deficit. Funny, y'all. Don Moynihan, a professor of public policy at the University of Michigan, said the effort seems more destructive than just an attempt to shrink the government in ways conservatives have long advocated. It's usurping the role of Congress on spending and program design, using cuts as a backdoor way to impound and close agencies created by Congress, Moynihan said. It is implementing an unprecedented scale of disruption. Once again, like I said, you can't do this the traditional way because nobody can agree on how to do it. Nobody can agree, let's go ahead and do this the traditional way. So you need some sort of disruption. You need a tornado to come through and wipe everything out and then rebuild it back anew, right? You need something to happen because they've been trying to do this, like I said, for decades. And obviously, the general way, the usual way we would do this hasn't worked. But once again, the definition of insanity is, continuing to do the same thing and expecting a different result. Why do they think that just continuing to do it the way it was set up is going to work? It's not. Let's try a different approach. Grover Norquist, an anti-tax activist who's pledged to make government small enough to drown it in a bathtub, has made him an icon for small government conservatives, cheered the Doge project. He said Congress has to authorize any real reductions, but hoped that Doge's cuts show the legislative branch that voters will not panic when government is shrunk. If we do something for 3 years, they'll make it the law, Norquist said of Congress. They'll see it's safe. They'll see it's successful. They'll come in and put their name on it. Norquist acknowledged that Congress has repeatedly balked at the level of cuts that he would like to see even under unified Republican control. He asserted that 95% of Republicans support such reductions, But that wasn't enough to get it across the finish line in an era where the majority party usually only has a razor-thin majority of control in either chamber. The past nearly half-century of politics has been defined by conservatives pledging to cut government spending only to see it continue to grow. Republican Ronald Reagan swept into the presidency in 1980 pledging to cut the government, but when he left 8 years later, its size had increased. The trend continued through Trump's first term and during Democratic Joe Biden's presidency. Once again, they're making the argument here for me. Now, however, Trump will not face voters again despite occasional quips about seeking a constitutionally prohibited third term. He has been open about his grudge against the federal bureaucracy, which he blames for many of his troubles during his initial 4 years in office. Yeah, I don't think anybody with a brain that paid attention to politics would disagree with that. I don't think previous presidents have had the same animus toward the federal government. This one has, Holtz-Eakin said. He noted that Trump has launched a second cost-cutting initiative through traditional channels, his own Office of Management and Budget, which asked agencies to prepare for mass layoffs. That, Holtz-Eakin said, makes those coming reductions likelier to stick than Doge cuts. Holtz-Eakin said there are initial signs of voter discontent over the pace, depth, and chaos of the cuts. The usual way you visit that on a president is you wipe out his party in the midterms, Holtz-Eakin said. You never evade the voters. Yeah, and this is why stuff never gets done. Because people are too worried about the voters. They're too worried about making these cuts, hearing the left scream and scream and scream and think that that's what the majority of the population thinks. They don't like having to be accountable to the lobby interests who says, no, you're going to damage our, we need these subsidies. Come on. Why do we think the government subsidizes so much stuff? I mean, think about this for a second. Our economy, the bread and butter of our economy that makes it run, the foundations of our economy is the oil and gas industry. And the government, the federal government, subsidizes the oil and gas industry to the tune of billions of dollars every single year. Wonder why that is. They don't need any assistance. Lobby interests, folks. Lobby interests. You know, if we took all of the subsidies for everything that doesn't really need subsidies, we could have free health care. For everybody. Yeah. We could have a universal basic income for everybody. Social Security would be great. We could have Social Security pay for itself. But no, everybody has to have a handout. And we don't pay enough taxes to give everybody a handout. You want to keep taxes low? You want to make the economy grow? We can't be a welfare state and also have low income taxes. They would have to shoot taxes way up, destroying the middle class in the process. It makes no sense with these people. We need these cuts, y'all. We really do. We need to cut these programs back. But what I don't get is how come Donald Trump just doesn't instruct his departments, look, this is what you have to work with. Whatever the revenue is, that's what you have to work with. We cannot have a single penny over revenue. Make your budgets fit. And if you can't afford all of your employees, lay them off. That's it. That's all he has to do. Because, you know, these people keep saying, you know, Congress has to approve all these cuts. Blah, 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 blah. But you know what? The federal government, these agencies make the budgets that Congress has to approve. So if they make a budget that's not in a deficit, Congress approves that budget, there will be no need for cuts. It's as simple as that. It really is. If your budget can't account for 50% of your staff, so be it. so be it. You got to get rid of some people. I'm sorry. You're not firing them. You just don't have any more room for them. You cannot pay these people. We need to make some tough decisions in this country, y'all. And it needs to be done quick. Within 18 months. Before midterms. Hopefully we can retain control of the House and the Senate for Trump's 4 years. We can get a lot of this permanent. We can get a lot of this into legislation, into law, and make it much harder to undo all this. And hopefully Trump can get it done. Hopefully all this gets done. But once again, he could order his departments. Look, this is what we got, $7.7 trillion in revenue. We've got to pay out $4.5 trillion in Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. You got the rest of this. Do what you do. That's it. And if you got to get rid of some people, get rid of some people. You can't keep what you can't keep. If you can't afford to keep 30,000 employees, 30,000 employees got to go. Like, it could be that simple, but it never is, y'all. It really never is. But I think I've rambled on for long enough on this one. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comments section. Did I forget something? Did I overlook something? Y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got on this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.